The world of VFX is a vast display of artistry, creativity, and technological wonders. It's in your favorite movies, TV shows, and even music videos. Visual effects helps us achieve what we can't with practical effects and therefore is a very powerful tool in filmmaking. It lets artists create big CGI monsters or bring distant worlds straight to your doorstep. VFX are great, and they can even be very important to telling your story. It is in a lot of media that we consume on a daily basis, but most people don't fully understand it. To get a better understanding of VFX, we gotta go back to the early days of cinema. In 1895, we had a man named Alfred Clark who was directing a reenactment of an execution. Right before the person was executed, he stopped the camera, had all of his actors freeze in place. He then replaced the person with the dummy and then continued recording. This is one of the first in-camera illusions. And from there, filmmakers all around started to experiment. Most notably is Georges Méliès and one of his famous works, A Trip to the Moon. In that film and some of the other films that he created, he went on to use things like multiple exposures, reverse shots, and even hand painting every single frame just to add a little bit of color. So that's where it started, but now we fast forward to 1982 where VFX is well underway. In-camera trickery is no longer an illusion, so now we have to keep evolving. This is where we start getting into CGI. CGI, or computer-generated images, is digitally creating 3D models or assets. One of the first films to use heavy CGI is Tron. And just a few years later, the first fully CGI animated character was created. In the movie Young Sherlock Holmes, there is a scene where a knight jumps out of a stained glass window. Now the artist had to go and hand animate every single point for every single shot of that scene. Now we enter the modern day version of VFX. You have movies like Avatar and Avengers who rely heavily on VFX to tell their story. Avengers Endgame alone had 2,496 individual shots just for VFX work. That's way more than most movies. And honestly, because of that, when people hear VFX, they think of big budget blockbuster Hollywood films and huge explosions and giant CGI robots and whatever else. But VFX is more than that, and also doesn't need to go to that level. Anyone can really learn VFX. You just gotta know the basics. Visual effects can be split up into multiple key components. You have keying, rotoscoping, CGI, and compositing. There's a lot more, but I'm just gonna stick with these ones. Keying is the process of removing background color from a shot. Usually this is done when filmed on a green screen. They choose the color green because it's the furthest away from human skin tones. You don't want your actor to be invisible. After you key out a color, it allows you to add any kind of background elements that you want to your shot. Next is rotoscoping. It's similar to keying, but you're not really removing a background color or any kind of green screen. It's the process of drawing a mask around your subject to isolate it. This allows for any kind of CGI or any element to go behind your actor, or maybe if you want to remove him for some other purpose. Next is CGI, but I already covered this, so just to reiterate, it's digitally creating 3D models or assets. One of the main reasons to use CGI is so you can create something that you can't practically. You also use it to give you more control over any kind of element in the shot. Lastly is compositing. Compositing is taking all those layers that you just went through and combining it into one final image. You would key out the green screen, add any sort of background, any kind of rotoscoping that may or may not need to be done. You would add your CGI elements or anything else that would really sell the shot. Then you composite it together for your final image. Then you can move on to the next shot. And those really are all the basics to VFX. If you can master all these elements, then you know VFX, or at least just the basics. There's so much more to VFX that I can't even fit into one video. There's even hidden VFX where you use the same skills to cover up things you don't want to show in a shot. Like if you're trying to hide wires when you're doing stunt work, or even just to hide copywritten materials that you can't show. There's also the uncanny valley where we can detect something is slightly off in CGI, but we just aren't sure what it is. This comes by nature where our instincts tell us what is human and what isn't. So that really raises the question, just how far can VFX go? Today, people are using AI and machine learning to get realistic results, and they're teaching AI to be able to swap faces. This is what's known as deepfaking, where you can train an AI to take one person's face and match it up to somebody else's. Disney has even done this in their most recent show, The Mandalorian. It's kind of creepy. But now we know what VFX is, and now we know there's so much more, but why is it so important and what makes it so great? VFX allows you to go beyond what is capable with practical effects. We wouldn't have movies like Superman, Tron Legacy, or even Interstellar, which even used mathematical equations to depict a black hole, which in 2017 was proven to be real. If used in the right manner, VFX allows artists to create anything imaginable, literally anything. You can bring the impossible to life using VFX. We have another student here at NOC2 who uses VFX. Her name is Morgan Matthews. I decided to interview her and ask her why she thinks VFX are so important. She stated that they are essential to movies because without them, there's so many elements that we wouldn't even be able to use. I then asked Morgan how she uses VFX and how it affects her work. She said she uses it to produce looks that she can't quite achieve on set, or to fix stuff that she can't work around physically, like lighting effects, color effects, or just cleaning up the shot. Morgan is on the more technical side of VFX, but she even stated that she wants to explore more CGI aspects as well. There are many more people out there who would also agree with me and Morgan that VFX are essential and they are great. And this brings me to my final thoughts. When it comes to me, this is why I want to be a VFX artist. I find VFX just so fascinating and it's just my passion. It means so much to me and I've grown to love it over the years. So I just want to keep evolving and keep working on it and get better. And I'm still learning the basics and I'm still trying to improve every single day. And I really just want to show people what I'm capable of. Pretty soon I hope to be out there making movies for everyone to enjoy. Anyways, thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it.